Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank Podcast. I'm here with a special guest. All right, now, if anybody has ever seen any movies with a man that is known as the Texas Ranger, this is what I like to say. I'm here with Mr. Chuck Norris.
Hey, how's it going?
You know what's funny is because you see all those people that do like those. There's like a McDonald's commercial, and they'll be like, "We got the actual Ronald McDonald to even say that to whatever talk about it," and then it's just people named Ronald McDonald all over the. I'm like, I love it. It's amazing. What's a McDonald's cheeseburger? I don't know. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, I've gone by Chuck Norris probably the last several years of my life. My full name is Jeffrey Chuck Norris. That's the name I use when I host my podcast, Chuck Goes to the Movies. But the reason I have to use both names is that there are people in my life who know me by Jeffrey, and there are people in my life who know me by Chuck. And surprisingly, they don't know the other one if they know one. So that's why I have to use both names. I use it on social media and use it everywhere else too.
You have alter egos.
I do.
That's
I'm
why
I'm like a fucking superhero here.
I try and tell people when I was a kid that I had a twin. So whenever I did something wrong, I'd be like, "Oh, that was my twin," or something, and have like an alter ego or something. Like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Robbie." Like, "Oh, so both of you are named Robbie?" I'm like, should have thought that one through.
Yeah. I used to be a waiter, and I would always go up to my tables and be like, "Hi, my name's Chuck. I'll be taking care of you today. But if you absolutely hate the service, then my name is Jeffrey."
That's a good one. I like that one. But I don't think anybody's complaining about Chuck Norris unless you want to get a freaking roundhouse to the side of the face.
No, I never really got any complaints. People loved me for some reason. I don't know.
So exactly, Chuck, explain a little bit about yourself, or if whatever you really want to talk about. I know you have your podcast going too, so I know we're going to bring that up.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, I started a podcast earlier this year. I launched my first episode back in February. Basically, the idea, it's called Chuck Goes to the Movies, and I talk about movies that have impacted my life or influenced my love for other movies. And I'm joined a lot by my brother, Robert. He's been my main co-host on the majority of the episodes so far, but other people have joined me. And we talk movies, and we talk about the things we love about them, the actors, the directors, the music, if the movie is stupid, but we love it anyway. Like we just did a whole episode on Armageddon, and I absolutely hate that movie, but I love to watch it and I love to talk about it because it has impacted my life in such a way. I mean, it came out 22 years ago, and it had such a star-studded cast, and it had just these really crazy, outlandish ideas happening in space. Like, did you know that in the movie, while they're on the asteroid, there's fires happening on the asteroid, which scientifically cannot happen?
Yeah, it's a flaw of the movie, but just
It's a
like the
flawed movie, but
you're there for Bruce Willis. That's all we care about.
you're there for Bruce Willis, you're there for Ben Affleck, you're there for that just all-star cast, and that's what a majority of our episode ended up being, was just talking about the cast and absolutely how amazing it was and how each of these cast members has really represented something amazing in our lives. So that's kind of the premise of my show. We do have these categories that we kind of break down and talk about, like favorite actors, favorite scenes, favorite lines, and stuff like that. But then we end up going on these tangents and stuff, and that's where the real fun of these episodes come in. So
I think that's
I
probably one of the best things about a movie podcast or like a music podcast is the fact that everyone has a certain memory or connection with something. Like for
mhm,
me, my all-time favorite movie that I actually got a few of my ordained license under, not just the one under the Church of Bacon, but my ordained dude's license under the Church of the Latter Saint Dude from The Big Lebowski, one of my all-time favorite movies with
great
Coen
film.
brothers that wrote that. And that was a great movie. It was like during my senior year of high school, I heard so much about it, saw John Goodman was in it, like I'm gonna rent this thing, and cult classic in my opinion. But I mean, movies, they can hit you in a good way, a good connection, and a bad way. What is one that really has stuck out into your mind as like an all-time favorite movie? Would you say it's Armageddon, or do you have another one that hits a little close to home?
Definitely not Armageddon. One of my all-time favorite films, it's one I rewatch constantly, is Ocean's 11, actually.
Really?
Yes, with George Clooney, Brad Pitt, that whole crew. I love the whole premise of it, but again, I think I more have a love affair with the cast of that movie because they all work so well together. It's almost like they've all been friends for years and years and years, and they just have this great chemistry, and it's just fun to watch them on screen doing all these things, whether we're talking about through Oceans 11, 12, or 13, robbing casinos, going to Amsterdam, or, taking out a casino boss. it's a lot of fun to watch these movies and to just really watch these actors. It's almost like they're having fun with it, and that's, I think, a sign of a great movie is when an actor's going in there and they can just be comfortable, have fun, but still put out a really good product. That's why Ocean's 11 is one of my absolutely favorite films of all time.
Well, for me, like one of my favorites would be Men Who Stare at Goats. That movie was shit on so bad by everyone that I think ever watched it. I really didn't understand it. I was probably 14 when the movie came out, and I saw it in the
Yeah.
theater with my grandfather, and he was like, George Clooney's in it. We're gonna watch it. I'm like, all right, I guess so. He goes, at least it's not another Steven Seagal movie. I've had enough of that guy. And so we're sitting there after we watched it. I'm like, what the fuck was that movie about? Like, it was just really weird and random. And he was just like, it's a good movie. Clooney's in it. I'm like, okay, all right. I guess that's what it means to have good movie standards. But then I found out, like, when I was in college, like, I mean, at the age of like 20 or 19, that was based on a real government program called
Hmm.
Project Jedi. And I found out, I was talking to my mom about that, and she goes, yeah, I went to that high school. I'm like, hold on a second. So then this movie just completely opened up in a whole new way to me about how real it was. I started studying all about that, Project MK Ultra, all these giant government programs that were going on. And I'm like, holy shit, it just improved the movie for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a awful movie. And not to negate the fact, but no, just because George Clooney's in a movie does not make a movie awesome. He has put some real bombers out there. One of my least favorite films of his is From Dusk Till Dawn. I know a lot of people don't really share that sentiment with me, but I've never liked that movie. But it was an interesting movie, and the fact that it was based off of real events definitely gives it some merit. If we're going to talk about movies based off of real events that really are amazing, one of my favorite movies, in fact, I will probably list this as my number one movie of all time over Ocean's 11, is Apollo 13.
Yeah, that's a
I
long one.
love that movie.
I saw that one in seventh grade consumer science class. No, it
Hmm.
was environmental life science class, but we were in a cooking room, so there were ovens and stuff. We just wouldn't use them. But I remember that's one of those days the teacher would come in. She's all hungover, so she just puts on a movie. So we're watching Apollo 13, and I remember it was getting towards the ending, and I'm like, I'm a chatterbox, so I'm always constantly like heckling or doing something off to the side with a friend or something. I remember she just like gets up, like lifts her head up off the projector, you know, the old school ones, the light that would pop up on the board, not the
Hmm.
projection screens,
Yeah.
um, the overhead we called it. And she pops her head off that and just looks at me and goes, "Can you shut up?" And I was like, "Damn!" She just told me to shut up, but she's like, "This is an important movie in our history." I'm like, "It's Tom fucking Hanks going to the moon. I have no idea what's going on. They've been up there for 4 hours. I'm pretty sure someone's got to take a shit. I've heard it over the microphone. I don't know. I'm just disconnected from this movie." And then she started explaining it a little bit towards me. I'm like, "Oh, that's like a significant moment in our history. Like if this movie, it wouldn't have bombed. It didn't matter who was in it. It didn't matter
Mhm.
how much production went behind it. I feel like it's such one of those like historical type things that everyone just loves it. It's like if you made a movie about 9/11, even if it's the worst quality and all these types of things, it's still, you can't talk trash on it because of how it impacted that was to our society."
Absolutely. The few films that I have seen on 9/11, even if I wanted to hate on them, I don't think I could. But I felt a deeper connection to Apollo 13 when I moved to Florida when I was in high school, because then I got to go out to Kennedy Space Center, and I actually got to do one of the tours where you go out to go stand on the launch pads where they launched the original Apollo missions and stuff like that. Like I stood on the launch pad where I believe it was, which Apollo was it? It was Apollo, damn, I can't think of it off the top of my head. The one where they had the fire before they even launched and all the
Apollo 11.
astronauts. Yeah, that. Thank you. I wanted to say one, but I knew that was incorrect. I stood there right where that caught on fire, and just feeling that history there and the energy coming from it. It really gave me a deeper connection to space movies, and I love space movies, so that's why I think Apollo 13 really just resonates with me. Aside the acting, I do like the actors in it. They're all great actors.
Well, not even good experiences too. We have bad ones too. Like I remember, I'll never forget this. This is back in the day when like elementary schools had lice check and shit, and the
Hmm.
nurse would have to check your hair and stuff. Well, I remember there was a kid in my class that had lice, and as soon as I got home, like me and my brother were only a few years apart, so we're basically when he was leaving that that school and going to the next one, I was kind of just going into it. So our whole school, the giant letter was sent out to everybody saying, "Oh, this is what happens, an outbreak. Check your kids, check this, make sure whatever." And my mom's like, "I'm just gonna put this in your hair anyway." Men in Black 2 didn't feel like it went on forever, but we had to sit in front on a white chair in front of the TV in the middle of the family room with this white bubbly shit in our hair with towels wrapped around us like we're getting a haircut or something. And we had to watch Men in Black 2 while this was going on. So that movie felt like it lasted fucking years. And I
Yeah.
remember looking outside the window and seeing all my neighbors playing around that are my age, like out in the yard, like running around. I'm like, I wish I could do that, but I had this stuff sitting in my hair. So every time I watch Men in Black 2, I immediately think back to that moment, like, motherfucker, like this movie went on for years. I mean, I had the same thing. King Kong. I remember I did a smart thing when I was a kid in school. My parents moved a lot, so our address would always change. So they could never mail my report card because it would just come back to them.
Hmm.
Then my parents would always get new phones. So the teacher brought me in one time, was like, I need a phone number to be able to call and contact. And I'm like, okay. And I just gave them my phone number. Um, so I just never answered. So they would have to send the report card home with me in my book bag, which I would forget about. Next thing you know, it's all this and that and this and that. Well, I remember I had to give them this report card. My parents knew this time. And I said, I'm going to wait till after. So we went to go see King Kong. That movie felt like it lasted for fucking hours. I felt like I was in there for 7 hours, man. Because literally,
Hmm.
I was like, once this is over, is when I'm gonna get yelled at, grounded, all this type of thing. We're having amazing fun right now, but after this is gonna be, I'm screwed. So I remember, finally the movie was over. I was like, man, that movie just went on forever. And even now when I try and watch it, I'm like, I can't. This movie's like 8 hours long. It's like, that's only 2 hours, man. It's like, no, it's 8 hours, dude. Trust me. And I remember on the way home finally being like, "Hey, isn't that movie great?" And my dad's like, "Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, yeah, did you see like Jack Black?" And like it starts going off, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I have my report cards all F's, and the teacher wants to see you for a conference meeting." What? Brakes slam. I'm like, "Oh shit, here we go." Like it's one of those things, and every time I watch it now, it just brings me back to those moments where I'm like, "Damn, I am not watching this if I got shit to do."
I honestly cannot think of a negative experience that I can associate with a movie. Wow.
Not even one if you got, like, sick. Like, I remember being super sick one time, and would eat like, I was eating, like, a little bit of, like, a bowl of Doritos and, like, a peanut butter sandwich. Dude, I can't eat Doritos anymore, and I could barely eat a PB now, just because I was so sick at this time. I don't know what it was, but, I mean, nothing was staying down, and every time and I remember I was watching, what is that movie? Oh, man, this is gonna kill me. It's a popular one too.
Do you
Oh,
know who's in
man.
it?
No, I love playing this game though. When people are like, "Can you just describe the actor?" and I could tell you what his name is, and I'm always get it. The Sixth Sense. I was
Okay.
watching The
Okay.
Sixth Sense, and I was like, I kept seeing like it was like I was like in and out, like where, like I watched The Matrix. I've never seen the full all the way through because I would fall
Hmm.
asleep in bits and pieces of it. So I felt like that movie lasted years too. But every time I watch The Sixth Sense, I immediately get like a stomach upset. I'm like, oh man, I can't do this. I'm already feeling like how I did that one time. I was super sick. My mom's like, there's something wrong with you. I'm like, I'm scarred. Scarred.
um, well, I think the closest I would ever come is I went and saw I Am Legend in theaters when it came out. And my buddy Kapik and I, this was when I first joined the Navy. So, we're young, we're stupid. We snuck a bottle of E&J into the theater with us, and we were just getting trashed during the whole movie. Now, I'm not a huge fan of E&J. I guess I can still taste it in my mouth when I do watch that movie. I noticed that the last time I did. It's been a couple of years since I've watched it, but I'm just like, oh, I need something to drink because I can just taste it in my mouth. I think that's the closest I'm going to get to a bad
Dude,
experience with a movie.
same movie here, man. I Am Legend. I saw it in theaters with my grandfather, and it was like we saw it like close to night. So my grandparents live out in the country, this eerie, like crazy place, kind of like out like way back in the backwoods. So
Hmm.
we roll up, and he has an older Dalmatian that was like 14 years old at the time. Back legs were not working well at all. Well, the dog tripped down the steps. So my grandpa's like, you just sit here and watch him. Don't let him get up because he's hurt. I'm going to go get the car ready, take him to the vet and stuff. And like, he's trying to calm my brother down. My brother's older than me, but he's all upset because he knows he's going to lose this last dog we have. So we just saw I Am Legend. I'm freaked the fuck out. I'm like 14, 15 years old at these zombies I just saw come across this thing, like scaring the hell out of me. They live in the forest all around their house. So they told me to sit by this little tiny porch light that's barely lit, that could barely show 5 feet in front of it. I'm sitting there holding
Yeah.
this dog to the ground, and my brain is thinking, there's zombies out there. And all I'm hearing stuff, I'm starting playing it in my head and stuff. Dude, I've never been so scared in my life. I was like, if zombies come out, I'm ditching this fucking dog. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going right inside. But I remember how, like, when I watch that now, I immediately think of that. I'm like, oh, damn. Like, man, remember how I almost left my dog to die out there by those zombies?
Well, there's a movie experience I have that has created negative feelings towards a memory of mine. So I used to live out in the middle of nowhere when I was born and raised in Texas, and your nearest neighbor was a mile down the road. And you never thought about how truly scary that kind of scenario is. And it didn't dawn on me till we went and saw the movie The Strangers with Liv Tyler and Scott
Yeah.
Speedman. They're being terrorized by these people. They're in the middle of nowhere, and I'm just like, holy shit, that could have been us. Nobody would have found us for weeks. And that movie truly scares the shit out of me, even to this day, just from the thought of that really could have been us. So I had all these happy memories in this childhood home, and now I can't help but think about it, look back and think, well, shit, we could have been like chopped up and tortured, and seriously, this could have happened, and that's a truly scary experience for me.
What
So
what
happy memories ruined.
what typical genre do you like to enjoy the most? I prefer like a good horror, but I really love comedy movies as well.
I love a good horror movie. I prefer psychological horrors. Don't get me wrong, I love a good slasher film, but
Mental illness is the one thing that gets me scared is when I start like The Visit, that scared the
oh,
shit out of me. I wasn't scared. Like I watched it in theaters and I'm with like my brother who's like at the time was in like 23. I'm a couple of years behind him. So I'm sitting there like in the movies. I see him cuddle up next to my mom. I'm like, you guys are always fucking fighting. This is the one time I never see you guys fighting is when you guys are scared shitless. So everybody in the theater is all cuddled up next to like their companion. I'm just sitting there like, this isn't scary. It's just jump scares. It's not scary. Then I started figuring out like the people were mentally insane. And I'm like,
hmm
oh, now I'm scared because this is fucking real. Like this could be sundowning. I've seen that happen in real life. Like that was getting me.
yeah, I felt the same way as you did when I'm watching this movie. I'm like, God, this M Night Shyamalan's lost it, and then you start to pick up on it. You're like, oh shit. By the end of
Yeah.
the movie, I'm like, this is freaky.
I mean, I
Ah,
saw a lady in the water in the movie theater and
uh-huh.
people talk trash like it's not a horror film. I'm like, it's a horror film. It's got a lot of suspenseful parts to it, dude. Like I'll live and stand by that movie, man. That and The Happening is probably my favorite, even though everyone likes to shit on that movie in particular.
All right, well then I shan't share my thoughts on The Happening,
All right, you
but
got to now because I'm curious.
I went and saw that movie. I get the political and environmental message that it was trying to send and everything like that, but I think that really overpowered the rest of the movie. Was the message it was trying to send, and it probably just overpowered what could have been really great performances from Mark Wahlberg and John Leguizamo and oh,
I
why can't I think of her name
I
right
think you
now?
need to
Zoe Deschanel.
I think you need to rewatch that movie, dude. I'm telling you, because
Uh,
if the message you got was protect the environment, not don't lie in front of a fucking lawnmower when it's on, then you might have saw a different movie because that's what I pulled out of it. When that lady slammed her head up against the glass and her head went through the glass and she just comes up like this looking like the crypt keeper, that was like, holy shit. She has done lost it.
all right, fair enough. I'll give it another try. I haven't seen it since I've seen it in theaters because I just wasn't impressed with that first round. So
It reminds me of the beginning of Bird Box, the first 5 minutes. That's really good, where everyone's just killing themselves, and then the rest of the movie's just bullshit. Where you're like, "What the hell?
yeah,
There's no more deaths."
yeah. When I saw Bird Box, I got that feeling too. I was like, what is this? The Happening? Everybody's killing themselves. So yeah, I get that. But Yeah, I'll sit down and rewatch The Happening. I'm always willing to give things a second chance.
I
So.
think the problem where I have with horror films is when you look at it, a lot of it's the same template over and over again. A lot of suspenseful jump action. I like a story to it. I think that's what made Lady in the Water so interesting to me was that it crafted out this tale and this story. And I mean, if you want to look at actors that are completely disregarded, there's two, in my opinion, that are like just don't get the limelight they deserve. Like the light kind of went away. Paul Giamatti, especially in Lady in the Water with that stutter that he had, like was
Hmm.
amazing. And he was really big back in the day. And then he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And then Brendan Fraser, he went through some health issues, lost all his hair, but he was known as like the pretty boy in film. You know, the mummy, all those types of things,
Hmm.
and it just completely changed.
Yeah, I completely forgot Brendan Fraser. Um, Lady in the Water. Again, it's one of those movies I've only seen once, so I think I really need to sit down and rewatch it because I don't remember a lot from that movie. I do remember Paul Giamatti. I like Paul Giamatti. I can't think of a movie that he's been in that I absolutely don't like. Well, actually, I'll take that back. He was in he had a very small role in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I'm just like, what the hell am I watching? Um, do you remember that right at the end he ends up becoming the
Yeah,
rhinoceros? Yeah,
that they definitely should have. I mean, that would be cool if that would have turned into a movie or something. But just showing a bit of an actor like that, it's like, did you not have any more money left in the budget after wasting all of it on Andrew Garfield?
Andrew Garfield and Jamie Foxx. I mean, that was just a big budget film that just kind of went. But if we're gonna talk M Night Shyamalan horror films, aside from The Sixth Sense, which is not really horror, I remember looking at my mom halfway through the movie, and like, he's dead. She's like, "How did you pick up on that?" I was like, "I don't know. He's dead."
Spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen The Sixth Sense yet.
If you haven't seen The Sixth Sense yet, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's over 20 years old.
Dude,
Um,
the devil in the elevator movie,
oh, I love that movie.
that scares the shit out of me every time I get in an elevator. I'm sitting there like, all right, this thing shuts off. Which one of you fuckers is the one that's gonna try and kill everybody in here?
That's yeah, wow. That's a great movie. It's very suspenseful because you really just don't know what's going to happen and just like shit. Uh I do like that. And M Night Shyamalan was actually involved with that one. I think indirectly. I think he was a producer on it. But I love The Village. And I know not a lot of people do.
A lot of people just crap on the fact that they're that close to civilization and they haven't come in contact with anybody. But see, the problem I also think with movies is depends on what you see before it. Like I saw Signs first, so I really
Mm,
enjoyed Signs.
yes.
Then I saw Scary Movie, but then I saw Scary Movie. I think it was five, and then I saw The Village, and I was like, "This is bullshit," because I've already seen them do the parody of it that was supposed to be funny, so I couldn't take the
Hmm.
movie very seriously.
I know. Thank God I saw like The Ring and stuff like that before Scary Movie 3 came out, or else I don't think I could ever appreciate The
I
Ring.
still haven't even seen The Ring, but I saw Scary Movie. I was like, "This is enough for me."
If you think you could sit through it without really hating it because Scary Movie ruined it, I would highly suggest it. The Ring is a great psychological movie. In fact, it's probably one of my top psychological movies, and it's from one of my favorite directors, Gore Verbinski. I talk a lot about it during my A Cure for Wellness podcast that I'm releasing on Friday because Gore Verbinski directed that movie as well. I just love the way that he immerses you into the films. So, like with The Ring, I felt like I was underwater kind of the whole time, which is the point. So I don't want to ruin it for you, but you need to sit there and watch it. I think it's a great film.
Where do you stand on Final Destination movies?
I was okay with them. I like Final Destination. I like Final Destination 2. When number 3 came out, I was tired of it. But I would probably have to say 2 is my favorite, and I still freak out when I'm behind a log truck. I know physically it can't happen.
I've been pulled over for going under the speed limit because I was behind a logging truck, and I had to explain that to the cop that pulled me over. Um, it's that roller coasters after the third one messed me up. The reason I'll never go into a tanning booth is because of those movies. Um,
Yeah,
even when I'm at Home Depot, I try and stay away from all the nails and shit because I just start freaking out that I want to get like a nail gun to the head or something. But that movie was so crazy. And even swimming to the bottom of a pool, I always had that quick thought, like, imagine if this sucked me and kept me down here and I just exploded through the
right.
filter system. Like that type of stuff, the escalators, all those types of things. If you watch that at a young age, I could see where it scars you. I mean, I remember seeing Chucky when I was like a little kid, then having a little
Mm.
doll of it too, and throwing it out the window. Like, what the fuck? I'm like 4 years old. You got me a Chucky doll? Like, why? Like, you weren't supposed to see the movie.
Chucky is the reason I don't like dolls. I don't like dolls. I don't like ventriloquist dummies. None of that. It's my grandmother used to have these porcelain dolls in her house when we were younger, and they were just like line her fireplace and everything like that. I wanted to set them all on fire. They scared the shit out of me, and I actually do blame Chucky for that.
What would you consider, in your opinion, that makes a good movie? Like, would you say that it's the actors? Would you say it's the story? Would you say it's maybe the production value? Because I feel like they all play a good key part to it, but I think what really makes a movie, at least interesting for people to watch, is when there's somebody they know that's involved in it.
I can agree with that. Absolutely. We tend to gravitate towards movies where we recognize actors or actresses and things like that. But to me, I think what makes an absolutely great movie is a solid story. I mean, you could have absolutely amazing acting, but the story itself could just be trash. If you've got this nice cohesive story that's going to keep you interested, that you kind of forget. So, Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors, and what I love about watching Tom Hanks movies is that he can immerse himself into these roles and he does a great job, but then he picks these movies, not all his movies, but he picks these movies where I went to go see it for Tom Hanks, but then I really enjoyed the story and I forgot I was watching Tom Hanks and things like that. So it's really the story that captures me. If a movie doesn't have a good story, I'm probably not going to give it any more time when I'm done watching it for the first time. So I probably won't watch it a second or third time after
I think I had that when it came to the movie Lone Survivor. That is a
that.
propaganda movie if I've ever seen one. I mean, immediately afterwards, you want to sign up for the fucking military. You want to go off and do your own thing. Like,
Yeah.
that movie was so insane. I watched that in theaters, just the amount of suspense, the amount of maybe stuff that was glamored up, but like the serious of it all, like the beginning, like with the military, where they're showing you the training exercise to become a SEAL and ringing the bell and everything. You just wanted to sign up afterwards. Like, I want to serve my Americans. Like, I guarantee you that the amount of military increased people that signed up for it after that movie came out.
You don't know, you want to know what got me to sign up for the Navy?
What?
A commercial.
It's
It
be
works.
be all you can be.
No, that's Army. Back in the day, the Navy's slogan was "Accelerate your life." But I was sitting at home one day. I had just dropped out of college the first time, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with my life. And I'm watching TV, and a commercial comes on, and it's the commercial. I don't know if you remember it. It's just a beach, and the waves are crashing up, and and then the light fades out, and when the light comes back on, there's footprints in the sand. It's supposed to simulate that the seals came in, and then the wave crashes up, goes back, the footprints are gone, and then it comes up with that slogan, "Accelerate your life." I literally turned off the TV, got in my car, and drove to a recruiter office within minutes of watching that commercial.
It's like
And
getting a tattoo spontaneously. You probably should have thought a little bit on that one.
one of the greatest experiences of my life, but sometimes I do wonder, had I not gone to the recruiter office, where would I be now?
I would love to see somebody walk in there and be like, "I have one complaint." Be like, "What?" Like, "I don't know if this is for me because I get sea queasy. I don't get seasick. I get sea queasy." They're like, "Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be on the Navy base at all."
Just to let you know right now, there are a bunch of people on the ship who do get sea queasy.
What?
I don't
Why? If
understand
you're
it.
gonna
I don't
spend
understand.
all the time on the water, why would you do something that would you get seasick from?
I have no idea. They feel the ship rock just even slightly. All of a sudden, they're turning green and they just want to throw up everywhere. And I'm like, why are you here?
What's one movie? Yeah, I guess I already. I'm surprised that you don't have one that is really kind of stuck in your head. Like, I don't want to watch this because it brings me back to a bad moment in my life. I mean, I was a kid, and even though you said I Am Legend, I mean, I was a kid and I had carbon monoxide poisoning when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So
Mhm.
I had to spend the whole entire time in the hospital as a young kid, scared with tubes up my nose to help me breathe. And they kept playing Beauty and the Beast over and over and over and over. It probably played 3 or 4 times. And so I'm getting blood taken out of me. I'm kind of passing out, waking up, going in and out. And I remember they stuck, when they had these tubes up my nose, they gave me a peanut butter sandwich, no jelly, just peanut butter on a dry ass sandwich. They're like, eat
Hmm.
this. So I'm sitting there, and you're trying to eat a peanut butter sandwich with, while you're trying to breathe up your nose with tubes up there, and you're freaking like all like, and Beauty. I was all fucked up for weeks after that movie. Even when I watch Beauty and the Beast now, like my little cousins are watching some of the old school ones because they need to be cultured a little bit with like Johnny Bravo and stuff, the good stuff. Uh, he's watching that. I immediately get like anxiety in my chest from it.
No, I honestly can't think of anything that really just I mean, there are movies that I've watched that have helped fuel my fear of things. Like I can't watch it
I
with
don't
the
think I've ever.
clowns.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Uh, um, Whether it's the Tim Curry version back from back in the day or the recent ones that they've been doing, I can't do it because I hate clowns. But I think my fear of clowns was before that anyway. Snakes on a Plane, I had anxiety watching that movie because I fucking hate snakes and
I
they all
was
need to
af-
die.
I was afraid to use the plane toilet at that
Yeah.
point. That one scared the hell out of me. I'm like, there's going to be a snake that comes out of this toilet and bites me on the pecker.
Oh, I am truly tired of these motherfucking snakes. Um,
Exactly.
but as far as like really anything else, no, I can't think of anything.
Do you miss Blockbuster?
Yes,
I really do.
that
A
was
lot.
my childhood.
Exactly. I remember going in there. One of the most cringing moments of my entire life, and it. Shout out to my grandma for hiding it for so long. I guess she just never even thought to bring it up. But I would go up to my grandparents' house on my grandma's house on she lives in Owings Mills, Maryland, next to the Ravens training camp. So when you're going over
Hmm.
there and you don't see your grandma for a while, they want to do their best to impress you on the first night. Go out to eat. We would go to like Red Robin or whatever, get endless steak fries is what I got. So that was like the first day. So I'm like, all right, sweet. She's like, Blockbuster's right down the street. Pick up a couple movies, a couple games. You're gonna play this. I got you a Wii and everything. You're just gonna play that, have fun. Okay, we're gonna enjoy. We're gonna watch a movie tonight. Pick out a movie. So I picked out Benchwarmers, and I picked out. I was probably 15 at the time. I picked out some other movie that was supposed to be a horror, but there was a really hot actress in it. Uh, can't remember what her name is. She played in Good Luck Chuck. Uh,
Jessica Alba.
yes, 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 yes. That's her. Yes, she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ah, I'm
yeah.
trying to
I
think.
know.
I think I know what movie you're talking about too, because she really hasn't done a lot of horror. So,
She played in like one that had a lot of sex scenes in it. I know that. Well, I went to back to my grandma's house, and
hmm.
this is before I knew my grandma was lesbian. I found out
Oh,
that at like the age of 20, when you just don't ever think to ask. You know what I mean? I should have saw all the signs. Her
roommate.
roommate was dressed a lot like a male, but very nice, very nice. And I don't judge her for it. It honestly doesn't even matter. But we put in the horror movie first. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a really hot actress in it. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm sitting in between my grandmom and her companion, and I'm watching this movie at the age of 15, and there's just this huge lesbian sex scene that comes up. And I'm just
Oh
sitting there
my.
like, this is really uncomfortable. And like she's watching it, not saying a word, and like I didn't even notice what was going on. I'm like, I'm so sorry, and I'm like embarrassed. So I walk into the guest room. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed, and I'm 15 years old, so I'm sleeping there in bed. Like I'm so embarrassed. Little did I know they probably got off on that.
Reenacting some scenes.
Now that I really think about it, that was like they're like, that's a good movie. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry about the sex scenes, whatever. Because we don't care. I'm like, okay. And did they know that I didn't know, or did they just assume that I already knew? I have no clue, but I was so uncomfortable. And I found out later, I was like, wait a minute, that was probably enjoyable for you.
uh, I have a story like not like that, but similar to that, but it doesn't have to do with Blockbuster. Unfortunately, I'll sidetrack.
Did your
Um,
grandma was lesbian too?
no, my grandmother's not lesbian. At least that not that I know of. She
You're
doesn't want to
missing
tell
out,
us.
my friend.
I know. Uh, I graduated high school in 2004, and my grandmother flew out to Florida for my graduation, and she wanted to hang out with me. So I was like, "Let's go see a movie." So she's like, "We go see any movie that you want to." I had a huge crush on Lindsay Lohan, and that is right about the time Mean Girls came out. So I said, hey, let's go see Mean Girls. So we go see that movie. And through the whole movie, I just didn't realize that it was going to have a lot of the topics and stuff in it that were in it. And then at the end of the movie, my grandmother kind of pulls me off to the side. She's like, is high school really like that? And I go, it's worse. It's worse. And she's just like, holy shit, I don't think I could have survived. I'm like, it was kind of one of those embarrassing moments because it's just like your grandmother kind of gets this insight into the world that you live in, and then she wanted to talk about it. She wanted to ask these questions about sex in high school and stuff like that. And I'm like, Graham, no, 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 we're not having this conversation
I
right
think
now.
there's also a good reason why movies are like PG-13 or rated R, and you probably shouldn't let the kids watch them. I saw the movie Accepted, the
I
college
love
movie.
that movie.
Yeah, where he jumps off the ladder and goes, "Mother of hell!" But I remember this is like when I was like, I mean, same time like I was watching Step Brothers kind of. So I was like probably like maybe 13, 12, 14 years old or so, somewhere in
Mhm.
that those couple of years. And I remember there were two things I pulled from a movie I didn't realize were bad and you shouldn't say when you're my age. One was the bros prefer hoes. I was with my mom. We just got done trick or treating, and my brother's friend was like, "All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one." And we lived in a small town, so I just looked at him. I go, "Hey, man, remember bros before hoes?" My mom just looks at me like, "Robbie." I'm like, "What?" Like I was totally clueless of what that even meant. I was like, "I've been saying it around in school. What do you mean?" And then there's another part in the movie College or movie Accepted, the college one. The girl goes, "College is for pussies." And
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was. And I would just be like, they're like, "What are you going to do after high school?" I'm like, "I don't know. College is for pussies." And then my dad just looks at me like, "The fuck did you just say?" Like my grandpa's like, "You shouldn't be saying those types of things." I'm like, he goes, "Do you even know what that means?" I'm like, "Yeah, pussy is a female cat, right?" He's like, "You're not wrong." And I'm like, "Isn't it,
Wrong.
what are they, the pussycat dolls?" You're not wrong there either, but that's not what was really, I guess, meaning by that movie at all.
Ah, that I used that word one time in school. I think it was fourth grade. I used it. I called somebody a pussy, and the teacher sent me to the counselor's office, and the counselor was just like straight up, "Do you know what that word means?" And I'm just like, "It means you're a wimp." She's like, "No, it's a female organ on the body," and I'm just like, so here I am in fourth grade. She's explaining to me anatomically what a pussy is, and I'm just like, okay. Did it
You know,
stop me from using that word? No.
there's educational movies and there's movies basically taught you how to stick up for yourself if you didn't have anybody to teach it for you and when you're going through
Absolutely.
school. I remember I was in a tech class and it was like this was like probably like fifth grade. You had to learn to type fast, like learn how to, I still type
Hmm.
slow as shit. I mean, one letter key at a time. That's why it took me so long to send you an email to get in here. But like there's this girl beside me that was typing like she typed like 100 words like in like 30 seconds or something, just insane. And I looked over and she was like, I was like, "How are you doing that?" And she was like, "It's because I'm smart and you're dumb." And I'm like, "Well, you're white trash." And I got that from bench warmers. And my teacher just like immediately the whole class got silent. Everyone turned around and looked at me. And I was a year younger than everybody. So I guess I just didn't understand what that meant. And she looked
Yeah.
at me and starts crying. And my teacher just looks down and goes, "Go to the principal's office." I'm like, "What I say?" All I said, she's white trash because she is white trash. And he's like, "Go to the office." I'm like, "Damn it. What did I do?" And then I figured out it was really bad and I had to apologize to her. It was awkward, but hey, you know what? You are what you are.
Absolutely. My best friend in high school, she had a little brother, and we were watching American Pie 2. And probably not the greatest movie to watch around him. He was only like 9 or 10 at the time. I can't remember. But it got to the part of the movie where Jason Biggs is trying to watch the porn film and he glues his hand to his penis. And he's like, I glued myself to myself. And her brother just like looks at me and goes, well, what was he doing? Why was he touching himself? And I'm like, oh shit, do I have to have this conversation with him? So I told him what was happening. It was, oh my god, that was the most awkward conversation
There are
to
all
ever
those
have.
awkward movie parts where like you're hitting puberty and there's a movie that gets you to like, holy shit, who is this lady? And then that's when that sparks your little adolescent stages. I remember Dukes of Hazard with Jessica Simpson.
Yes.
Bro, that hit me at the age I was growing up. My brother had a poster of that in his room. I'll be like, "Hey, man, while you're like he would stay back at like our house or whatever, so I'd be up at my grandparents, and that's where the poster was and everything. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna watch movies in your room or whatever, and I'd be sitting there watching Dukes of Hazzard, looking at the poster like, I would do so much dirty shit to you. Oh my god. My grandpa's, we're gonna go out and mow the lawn. I'm like, 10 more minutes, damn it, 10 more minutes.
uh, for for me, it was Kate Winslet.
It
She always did it for me, especially after Titanic.
When they sell those posters in the store, do they expect people not to do dirty things with that poster in their room? Like, I feel like when a parent walks into a kid's room and sees that poster in there, they got to know that there's something going on with that poster. They don't just have it there for decoration. Oh, it's covering up a hole in the wall. No, it's not.
I feel the same way. Like I never had those kind of posters or anything hanging up in my room. Only just from I used to think about that sheer awkward factor of like, what would my parents think? Why is this poster hanging up? Do I like it because it's aesthetic, or do I like it because in the middle of the night I might look at it and have some fun? I don't know. So that's why I never had those types of posters or anything like that. I always hid
I,
my
I was
material.
always too cheap to get a poster like that, and my grandma was like, I want to pick you up posters to decorate your room. So she was like, she picked up a bunch of dragon posters and stuff like that and had them all over my room. I'm like, well, this is no, I'm not getting laid for a long time. But like, it was moments like that. Like me and my brother were so different. She wanted to get everything that, for both of us. If one of us got a Pokemon game, he would get Ruby, I'd get Sapphire. And it was just over and over,
Hmm.
like trying to make sure that no one was ahead of anybody else. And then, eventually, since he was older, got a job first, got his own stuff first. But I mean, even like when he got his car, we would take trips down to the movies or something, and we would be sitting there in the movie theater watching a movie. It was a completely different experience, and also bonding moments. Like I remember,
Hmm.
if I see anything like Tommy Boy, if I see anything like that, these are moments I had with my family. Gold Member was a big one. Like I
Oh.
remember seeing that, and that was the same night I decided to try and change a light bulb at the age of like 11. So I didn't know that you have to take your hand off the light bulb, to take it out, when you're, plug, whatever. Just I guess had it on or something, and I was spinning one in, putting in the light bulb, which I'm still scared to do now because of these moments. And I kept my hand on there too long and burned the shit out of my hands. So I'm sitting there screaming, watching Gold Member. And, it's like, he's like, I didn't have any corn, and that part's coming on, and I'm like sitting there in pain, like, like crying and like trying to go through it. But like that's something always sticks out in my head. I was watching that recently, and I was like, remember that time? And he's like, you burned the shit out of yourself because you left your hand on a light bulb. I'm like, yeah, right. Wasn't that nuts?
I love Goldmember. That is such a great movie. I was working at the movie theater when that movie came out. Yeah, I never saw that movie from beginning to end in order until like 3 years after it came out, because the only time I ever watched it was when I was on break at the theater and I'd catch like 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there. So it took me forever to piece it together.
What about what's one movie that you watched in a place that you probably shouldn't have watched it?
Movie that I watched.
Like I saw Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses at a bike shop near my house. I would always hang out there and work at this bike shop. And he was like, you ever seen, like he was playing old movies like Scarface and stuff. So I'd be sitting there like watching the old VHS, like, oh, this is pretty cool. So we'd be working on bikes, He would give me like 20 bucks, run down to like the deli, grab us some sandwiches and stuff. We just sit there and shoot the shit. But then he was like, you ever seen Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses? I'm like, no, what's that? And he starts playing it. I'm sitting there like, oh my God. Oh
That's
my God, that's her dad's face he's wearing.
yep. That's a that's a fucked up movie. Um,
Good fucked up movie.
a great fuck. I love Rob Zombie movies. Devil's Rejects is one of my favorites. Um, movie that I watched somewhere I shouldn't have. Wow, as boring as I'm going to sound, no, I can't think of
I
that.
saw Tenacious D with my grandparents. I I
That's
saw
funny.
Death at a Funeral with my grandparents, dude, when that movie came
Oh,
out. You know how freaking crazy that is to see Death at a Funeral with your grandparents? I thought it was going to be like, oh, there's Tracy Morgan, there's Donald Glover, there's all these people. It is basically an all black movie about a funeral. The dude takes a shit and like gets it all over one dude's hand. I thought it was the most uncomfortable. I'm sitting there in the movie theater like, oh my God, my grandma wanted to watch Date Night with Steve Carell, and I'm watching this. But she just sits there and starts snorting, laughing. She's laughing so hard. I'm like, oh, thank God it's funny. Thank God I didn't even invent this movie. I just saw the actors in it and thought it would be a good one.
I probably the closest I've ever come to that is I watched The Birdcage with my mom when I was in middle school, and just everything happening in that movie. It felt so awkward to sit there and listen to those conversations and watch that whole movie like with my mom. But she was actually pretty cool about it. I do remember a time though when I was my wife and I were already married. It was when not Inglorious Bastards, Django Unchained came out in theaters. We went and saw it, and we were sitting next to this black couple, and my wife was so nervous about wanting to laugh during the movie, and and she's just like, honey, I don't want to laugh. I don't want them to think we're racist. I'm like, honey, if they're laughing, we can laugh. Hell, even if they're not laughing, we can laugh. It's comedy. You can't. She was so awkward. She refuses to watch that movie to this day because that's all she thinks about is how awkward it was to watch it to begin first time and how racist she thinks it actually is.
That's how I felt when I saw Straight Outta Compton in
Yes.
movie theaters. It was me and my buddy were the only two white people in the theater, and there was just so much tension when the cops were beating these guys and throwing them on the ground that like you literally could feel the people staring into the back of your head like we're gonna fuck you up when we get out of here. I'm like just sitting there like damn. My buddy's like, dude, I don't feel comfortable right now. I can tell everybody staring at us, and I'm just like, dude, afterwards we just started shooting the shit with them. We're like, dude, that was an insanely good movie. Like that was a really
Hmm.
good. Next thing you know, we're my buddy's boss does HVAC, so his boss owns his own company. He's pretty rich. He had a 6'4" white Chevy Impala in their garage, dude. I went in there, sat in there, and you bet your ass I played that song by Eazy-E.
Nice. Very nice.
That's what I say.
Um,
Like movies have a perfect link to these memories and stuff that we remember. Where even if you turn it on today, you can turn it on 20 years later and still remember those moments.
Absolutely. 101 Dalmatians is probably one of those moments for me. It's one of the first movie they did the animated movie. They did a re-release when I was a very very little kid in theater. So that's actually one of the first memories I have of going to a movie theater is going to see that movie with my mom, and that kind of became our thing. My mom and she would take me out of school a couple times a year just to go watch movies, and it was always a Disney movie like Lion King or Toy Story or something like that. So that just kind of that's one great memory I have with Disney movies. And now that Disney Plus has come out, I sit down and I rewatch these movies. I got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old that are watching these movies now. And I just sat there and I love having that connection with these movies. It's a great memory I have with my mom. And now it's a great memory my kids are going to have with me sitting down watching these movies that I loved as a kid. So movies definitely can take you back to these wonderful times and jog all sorts of, whether good or bad, memories. And it's awesome.
Seeing The Dark Knight in theaters with my dad and that opening scene, and he just immediately
Hmm.
after he shoots the guy or shoots the bus driver, he just goes, "Fuck yes!" And I'm like, 15. I look over, I'm like, "That's $1 in the swear jar." He's like, "Here's $20, man. Cover it for the movie." Holy shit! Those
Christopher Nolan gave us the Batman movies we deserved.
telling you they
Absolutely.
were good stuff, man. And what would you say the best part is? The experiences, the person you're with, or would you say it's like maybe the day leading up to it? I feel like a lot of times, sometimes you just have a hard day or something, you just want to sit and relax, can really play into the factor of a good movie.
I agree with that. It's the anticipation of going to see a movie. Uh, there are times where, yeah, you just need. That's what I love about movies. That's what I love about watching movies and reading books. Is it gives you an opportunity to escape reality. So if you're having a hard time in life, or even if you're just kind of stressed out or just need to escape, and that's a great opportunity to do so. So yes, part of the experience of watching a movie could be watching it with someone, but I also just like to watch movies by myself. I will go to the movies constantly by myself, or I will sit at home and watch movies by myself. It's because I can connect differently when I don't have a distraction like sitting next to me. Not to call my wife or any of my friends a distraction, but she does like to ask a lot of questions or make comments during movies, and I'm just like, will you please just shh? Um, no matter how many times I've seen the movie, she'll still bother me. But I like to emotionally invest in whatever I'm watching. And in order to do that, it's usually better when I'm by myself. Uh, so, like an anticipation of seeing a movie is probably the best part. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I love the books. I love the movies. Every time a new movie was coming out, just that build up to go watch this movie. It's something to look forward to. The first one came out when I was in 10th grade, and I was having a pretty difficult time then. I was failing my Algebra 2 class. Yeah, that was Algebra 2. I was failing Algebra 2. I wasn't having a really good time in high school. I was kind of in a bad place, and this movie came out, and I got my shit together so my parents would let me go watch this movie, go with my friends and see Harry Potter. And just that whole anticipation. And that's when I realized that, if I do the right thing, and if I get this reward system, do the right thing, I get to go do the things I love. I know it took me forever to realize that reward system.
I had the
Um,
same freaking reward system. I had a if I got I ended up getting like a behavior plan when I was in elementary school where you had to get smiley faces or stars or
mhm,
something for like days you were good. It all started when I threw a dinosaur at a kid and almost made him like broke his nose basically. I was just energetic and he said he wanted a stegosaurus. I said, all right, think fast and tossed it over. I was a little kindergarten man. But
yeah.
they took away everything in my room besides the bed that was laying on the floor, all my toys. And every time I would get a good thing, and like my parents worked 2 jobs. So it's like nobody was ever really like home all the time. It was hard to,
Mhm,
keep track. So I remember as soon as I get home from school, I'd have to go like with my dad out to work again. And then we'd be there for a couple hours, come back home. And like, we eat dinner and he's like, all right, well, let's see what your book looks like at the end of the week. And we see the end of the week or whatever. He's like, all right, you get to pick one thing, you get back into your room or whatever. So I would pick like my Digimon figures or pick my Legos or something. And then I'm just like sitting down in my room. I'm getting like kindergarten age. Next thing I know, I'm like, where's the rest of the other shit? And it's in the other box. So I got to wait another week to get the rest of it to be actually able to play with my toy. I'm like, damn, it took forever, dude. But like, it's those little incentives you get.
Well, for me, it was difficult as a kid for my parents to take anything away from me because I have, even to this day, such an overactive imagination. Like, I could just sit there in a chair and stare at a blank wall and I can have fun just using my imagination. So, taking away toys, okay, sure, take away my toys, take away my TV, take away this, take away that. I will. I was the kid who would walk around in the backyard with a stick and act out an entire movie in my head.
Same.
So taking away things, it was hard for them to try to find something that was truly going to make me want to turn things around. And then and like I said, that's when it clicked back in high school. That's when I wanted to actually hang out with people and hang out with friends and stuff like that. And they're like, well, if you want to go hang out with friends, if you want to go see these movies that you love so much, you need to get your shit together. Like, well, damn, I can't sit in my room and pretend I know what Harry Potter. Well, I've read the book several times, so I can't. But I'm still not gonna be able to pretend what this movie's about. So, yeah,
I mean, we can all sit here and talk about horror movies, comedy movies, action movies, but the all-time best movies I think that really stick out in our memories are the ones that come out during the holidays. Those
yes,
good ones. Let me tell you something. I have one of the best moments whenever I see Jim Carrey in The Grinch. That was a movie me and my dad would sit there and watch, and we'd watch A Christmas Story. We play that every Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We're doing that. And every time we go by a Chinese restaurant, we're like fragile, or we'll be like rah 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 rah. Like we'll do something from the movie.
yeah.
And I remember when that movie with Jim Carrey first came out, and I was so little at the time. I remember like I was watching it, got super scared. My dad was upstairs, like lying down just for a couple hours before he came down and start making cookies and everything like that for us. He would do the traditional like steak and shrimp and all this type of stuff. We're so little. I ran up the stairs. Straight up, I got scared when Jim Carrey was on that mountain when I was at that age. So I ran all up the stairs to my dad, saw him on the bed. I ran, jumped on the bed, then jumped up on the bed. And when I jumped
Mhm.
on the bed again, like if you're going to jump up and down, I went double knees to his chest and hit him dead on the chest. And he just goes, "Huh?" And I'm like, oh, and I just start screaming. So he's waking up to me screaming and freaking chest caving in from me just slamming him in the chest. Dude, I swear, man, I remember him picking me up, setting me down by the couch, and like we're watching Christmas. We're not watching. We're watching The Grinch That Stole Christmas, and he's falling asleep, and I'm like trying to wake him up. He goes, "I'm gonna shut my eyes. I'm down here so you don't get scared." He goes, "If you do anything to hurt me like that again, you're going to be sleeping outside." I'm like, okay. And I would sit there and just like keep looking at him, making sure he was still paying attention. But those memories, every time I watch that now, I just laugh so hard because like those are moments you're gonna end up having with your kids when you get older. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Some of the great holiday classics are some of the best memories I have. I remember sitting down every year. I actually cannot decorate the house for Christmas without having the movie White Christmas on in the background. It's my all-time favorite Christmas movie. A Christmas Story is great. My wife, to this day, still has not seen A Christmas Story, and I want to know what the hell is wrong with her. And every time I try to suggest her watching it, she finds something else to do.
You'll shoot your eye out.
You'll shoot your eye out. Told her like go stick your tongue out on that pole in the when we used to live up in the DC area and it would actually freeze. I was like, why don't you go stick your tongue out on your pole and find out? I double dog dare you. I triple dog dare you.
Yo, you toss out a triple dare, it's got to happen.
Absolutely. Um,
Like someone can be like, I double dare you, be like, ah, oh, nah, I'm good, man.
yeah,
I triple dare you, like you son of a bitch.
I have to do it. All right. Can't go back on a triple dog. But I think my favorite holiday movie is Muppet Christmas Carol. I
Really?
Yes, my dad used to watch the Muppet movies with me, and that's actually his favorite. That and Muppet Treasure Island are my two favorite Muppet movies, and it's his two favorite Muppet movies. We would watch that whether it was Christmas or not, but that's one of my favorite holiday films because it is just filled with so many memories of sitting around with my dad and just he always tried to show an interest in whatever I was interested in, and he always encouraged me to sit down and watch that movie because he really did like it. And I find myself actually randomly singing songs from it in my head just throughout the day. Not every day, but a lot. Another memory that I actually have of my dad, I have my parents to thank for my love of movies because they made sure that I got a very good movie education, not just watching popular movies that were coming out at the time, but I love older movies. Gone with the Wind is one of my favorite movies. Wizard of Oz. There's an old black and white movie called The Spiral Staircase, which I'm just absolutely fascinated with. I think that's where my love of psychological thrillers started to really come into play. And one of the things I remember sitting down and watching with my dad, and my mom always hated it, was Mystery Science Theater. You
Mystery
know,
Science Theater?
yeah, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Okay, I see that on Netflix. I don't think I've watched it though.
Yes, we used to watch that all the time, and he and I would heckle movies like that when we were watching movies. So that's one of my favorite memories with my dad.
And it's something important too, and I'm guessing this is what a lot of what you talk about in your podcast too, is the fact that how important movies are like these experiences. I mean, we could talk about the ratings of movies, the actors in them, the whatever our thoughts about the movie, but I feel like the best thing about movies is talking about the experience behind it too, hearing a little bit of someone else's past and what meaning that means. Because I've known so many people that talk about how shitty a movie is, but then I know so many people that are like it's the best movie ever. It's because there was a
Mhm.
time in my life that was so important that that movie really resonated with me.
Absolutely. My best friend Justin, and I did an episode on Deadpool, and we did talk about the movie during it, but he was talking about the influence it really had on his love for creating his love for comic books and stuff like that. He lives in San Diego, so he goes to Comic Con every year, except for this year, unfortunately. And but he spent a lot of time talking about how this movie really influenced his life, and it really did change him. It came out after we had already been best friends, and he he has really let it affect his life in a positive way. He has a lot more fun with it. He dresses up as Deadpool, does the cosplay and everything like that, and he's a really good guy, and it really brings out a new side of him that I like. I just did a Cure for Wellness with my buddy Keegan. He's up in New York, and he was talking about how this movie connected with him through ideas of mental illness and things like that, and how it has truly affected his mindset and stuff. So that's what I love about movies is that it's not just about talking about actors, directors, the story and stuff like that. It's what you get out of it and what you can connect with it. So Armageddon's not my favorite movie, but I've got so many connections with it. And then there are movies that I feel so emotionally connected to that I don't know if I feel comfortable even talking about them yet, like the Harry Potter series or Star Wars. I love Star Wars to death, and I'm still trying to recover from Rise of Skywalker.
Sounds
and
like
how
I need to get
horrible it
you on my
was.
one buddy's podcast. My buddy does a Star Wars podcast called Sith Talkers, and I'm
Yeah,
only on for the What If episodes because I've only seen the originals. I haven't seen any of the newer stuff. I refuse to watch it. Just
the Disney trilogy.
yeah, it doesn't mean anything to me. I like
I
the
was
Kenobi one.
I love the original trilogy. I don't mind the prequel trilogy. I actually think Revenge of the Jedi is a really great movie. I kind of wish they would have expanded it a little bit more, made it into 2 movies. We needed episode 3A, episode 3B. But the Disney trilogy movies, they're great in their own right, but I don't feel like they've done the Star Wars universe any justice. But
They're good to
again,
connect newer audiences, younger generations, but in my opinion, I can't. Star Wars was back in the day. It was something I watched with my dad,
yeah.
and yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same, but to each is their own, I guess. I mean, sadly, most movies nowadays are just going to come back and be, rethrown back out there in just a newer way.
Yeah, it's reinventions, and that's the unfortunate side of Hollywood right now is that it's not really fresh new ideas. It's reinventing what has already happened, and I'm just tired of these reboots that are happening, or we just made this movie 20 years ago, let's make a sequel to it, or 30 years ago or 40 years ago, let's do a sequel. It's all about nostalgia now. No, give us something original, give us something fresh. I'd much rather watch that. Sure, like they've been talking about the Goonies sequel for years now, and apparently it's supposed to be happening within the next couple of years. I don't need it. I love the Goonies. It's a great movie, but I don't need to know what's happening later on in life to still feel connected to that movie. I don't need to know
You don't
whatever
want it
story they're going
ruined
to.
if it gets brought back.
Exactly. I mean, there's just the possibility that you're going to take these sequels, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Why did you have to ruin a great franchise with that movie?
That movie is fucking awesome.
Oh, you and I don't
He
agree
got
on
in the
that one.
refrigerator. I was upset that he didn't take any food with him, but it saved him from a bomb. He threw out
uh,
the peas and carrots. I was like, yo, you need that sustenance.
I liked Kingdom of the Crystal Skull only for the nostalgia factor. It was great to see Harrison Ford back at it again. They were in the warehouse where the
Shia
ark of
LaBeouf?
the. Not a huge Shia LaBeouf fan.
Oh.
I'm not. I wish I did. I want to see that one movie he just did, the one that
Peanut
got all
Butter
that critical.
Falcon.
Is that what it's called?
Peanut Butter Falcon with the mentally challenged boy.
Yes,
Yeah, his
I wanted to see that.
documentary on him was amazing about talking about how his addiction and how he was so lost and that kid brought him back from it and stuff was pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, I've heard great things, and I do want to give that one a chance, but I kind of just went and saw the movie because, again, just for Harrison Ford, and they brought Karen Allen back from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So that was really cool to see. But other than that, I was not into the storyline whatsoever. I thought it was campy. I thought they relied way too much on special effects throughout the whole movie. It almost looked computerized. It felt like a computer animated film throughout it. So it just didn't give me that same feeling like if I were to sit down and watch the original 3 movies. And and then Jurassic World is another example. I grew up on Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park's a great movie. Lost World, I thought was a great movie. I could have done without Jurassic Park 3. Now, don't get me wrong. I see the look on your face. I liked Jurassic World. It brought back a lot of nostalgia. It brought back, I thought it
That's the only
did a really
reason I
good,
liked it was the nostalgia factor.
yeah, it paid a really good homage to Jurassic Park. But then you sit there and think, did I really need this movie? No.
If they
Did
redo
I need
Jaws, I'll be
Fallen
the first
Kingdom?
one.
No.
If they redo Jaws, I'll be the first one to be lighting a fire at the theater because there's no way I want to see a remake of that. I want to let it keep it as classic as it is
I don't think Steven Spielberg would ever let that happen.
because I loved it. This is back in the time like AMC used to just play Jaws 2 over and over and over and over and
Hmm.
over again every single day during the summer of my senior year. And I would just go home, sit with a bag of goldfish crackers after working out, doing jet skis all day long. That was my job. And I would just sit there and you wouldn't think you'd want to watch a shark movie. I'm sitting there watching the shark movie and I would pause it and then put a goldfish cracker right in front of the shark like his mouth was open. Like that was like my whole summer, dude. But like that movie is one that just hits with me on such a level. Like that part where they're singing in the boat. Show
Hmm.
me the way to go home. That gets me, dude. Man, I'm telling you, that's a classic in my opinion.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I love Jaws and Jaws 2, but there's another series that just kind of got downhill with each one that came out. I love the way that Back to the Future really made fun of that. Um, and there's another franchise. You know, they had talked briefly about bringing Back to the Future, and I'm just like, don't you dare touch that. That's another trilogy from
They
my
tried it on
childhood.
Jimmy Fallon. They brought like a joke thing with
Yeah.
yeah, Doc Brown and Marty McFly. They
Mhm.
brought the actual people back, and the next thing you know, it was like that did not go well at all. Let's never do a movie on that again.
Never do it again, ever. Uh, Jimmy Fallon did a thing where he brought the cast of Saved by the Bell back together that one time, and now they're actually doing a Saved by the Bell reboot show.
We
Not
didn't
reboot, I
ask
guess.
for it.
Yeah,
We
we didn't
didn't
ask for it.
ask.
We didn't ask for it, and do I really care anymore? No, I don't care about Zach Morris and his dumbass kid in high school now, or the fact that Zach all of a sudden got his life together and became a governor. I'm not buying it. But I'm just tired of these reboots and these relaunches and stuff like that. And TV's doing it too. TV is just as guilty about it as movies are. I'm tired of these shows that were on when I was younger, and all of a sudden they're back. And Will and Grace being one of them. I just like, why is this back?
Ruined
Why
Teen
are we?
Titans for me.
Yeah. Why? I don't understand. Can we just have we really not thought of anything original anymore? Can we not do
It's
anything new?
you just remember how good something was and then think it's going to be just the same. And it's like sometimes that was left to be back there to keep your mind remembering that moment, not one newer. You know, if they brought Johnny Bravo back, which they'll never be able to do just because of the way the show was, you couldn't
Mhm.
play any of that today. Ed and Eddie couldn't play today. Um, but, you
Oh,
know,
I love Ed, Ed and Eddie. God, that's such a great show.
Rolf was the best.
Yes. He had the best little
I am the
comeback
son of a
lines.
shepherd. That was the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I thought Plank was the best actor on that show.
Yeah,
He had
definitely
more
one of
facial expression.
the most harder, one of the harder working ones.
Um, Friends, one of my all-time favorite shows, and they're doing a little reunion episode for the HBO Max launch next month. And I'm just not sure how I feel about that. That's another thing why I wish they would just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Don't I don't think they're going to relaunch a whole new series. They're just doing a reunion thing to kind of launch HBO Max. But if that were to be announced as a movie or a TV show that's coming back and they were bringing all the original characters back, I don't think I would watch it because it's just going to ruin these wonderful memories I have of watching Friends. And it's just not going to be the same for me. And there's, I was listening to one of your episodes where you were talking about how much you hate Seinfeld.
Fucking A, man. I can't watch comedians getting coffee, whatever, in cars because of that dude.
My father-in-law loves Seinfeld. I'm not a fan of it either, so
My
I'm right there with you.
family loves Seinfeld, but I can't do it. My buddy's like, dude, Jerry's awesome, man. I'm like, no, he's not. If you just listen to him talk, you'll realize like he's just full of nasal whatever his passages ways and his nose are just stuck. I mean, come on. It's like, holy shit, dude. Your voice, man. Like you got horse teeth and you got that voice. I mean, if I ever I remember someone asked, like, because I've been having famous comedians on my podcast, and he's like, why don't you get Jerry Seinfeld? I'm like, I probably could reach out to him, but I would never want him on there because I wouldn't be able to do 1 minute of a conversation with that man.
I can't stand his nasally voice either. Somebody asked me if I'd ever seen the Bee Movie, and I was like, no. How come you've never seen the Bee Movie? It has
That
Jerry Seinfeld in it,
that
and I
taught
can't
me in
listen to
fifth
that
grade
voice.
about bees, but I'm no, not a fan of it. Sorry. He's like, that movie made a couple $1 million. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I wouldn't wipe my ass with that.
But they had talked about the possibility of bringing Seinfeld back for a reunion thing, and I'm just like, just shut down TV now if that's where y'all are headed, because nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. Uh, the only person I liked from Seinfeld was Elaine. I think Julie Louis-Dreyfus is a funny actress. I love her in Veep, and
I like
stuff like that.
George.
George Costanza was funny too, um, but like Kramer, just overly annoying, and then Jerry Seinfeld is just Jerry Seinfeld. But
I, that that is a perfect way to describe Seinfeld. It's just Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld is Jerry Seinfeld. And it literally, I mean, they pitched it as a show about nothing, and it was literally about nothing. These people were, and they were awful people. If you sit down and think about it, these were just awful people in life.
It's like, Jesus, man, what is happening? Did I just hear someone drop a bass guitar down some steps?
Right?
Uh,
But give me something original. It's why I really don't go to the movies a lot anymore, because it's all franchises and blockbusters and rehashes of things that have happened already. And I would prefer to sit down and see something fresh, something that I want it to have the opportunity to captivate me, and I want it to have the opportunity to make me a fan. I'm just tired of seeing, like, after Endgame, I'm just really kind of tired of Marvel right now. It's been 11 years of Marvel movies, and I'm, well, 12
I
now,
still
or
need to
however
see
long.
Endgame. I've been trying to get Disney Plus. Someone wants to toss out that email and password. I'll only use it once. I just want to see Endgame because I've tried every free movie app out there and it's not working.
Endgame is a great movie. But
I didn't want to see
plot,
it in theaters in case I had to piss. I pee a lot.
yeah. There's some plot issues, but it's a great movie. Otherwise, I still cry at the end of Endgame. You got to watch that. You know, I'll send you my information.
I
You
swear
have to
to
watch
God, I
Endgame.
will delete it as soon as after I'm done watching that movie.
Oh, I trust you.
I have been trying so hard on every single movies 2K, movies.co, I was going to sign up for the trial, but it was like, insert all your card information. It's like, all right, I can't do all this shit.
No. I'll send you my login information. You have to watch this movie. It is great, but I'm burnt out on it now. I want something fresh. I want something original. It's why I love going to see Quentin Tarantino films. He rehashes a bit in his casting and stuff like that, but it captures me. From beginning to the end of the movie, I'm just staring at it in amazement. Like, wow, was I really just sitting here for 3.5 hours?
Damn it, stop. You're anticipating me for the movie. All I saw was Infinity War where he snaps and then he travels away and everybody's got to deal with everybody leaving. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the biggest cliffhanger. Can somebody
Okay,
fucking shoot me in the neck with a blow dart?
no more talk about Avengers Endgame. You will watch it. It it's awesome.
It's like 5 hours long. And that's a movie I want to see. And the new Deadpool that's coming out I heard is going to be really good.
Yes. Hopefully it's a little bit better than Deadpool 2.
It's
Deadpool 2 left a lot to be desired.
really, I enjoyed that one.
I liked the humor
Juggernaut.
in it. I don't know. And I really liked the dynamic between Josh Brolin as Cable and Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, but I liked the original Deadpool movie. I thought it was way better.
The original was definitely because it was just so new, the new fourth wall breaking. You're kind of used to it by Deadpool 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was pretty funny in Deadpool 2 when they're all jumping out of the airplane and everybody's just dying.
Yeah.
Goes right into the wood chipper. You're like, oh, shit.
Yes, and I love Brad Pitt's cameo in that movie. Brad Pitt, and Matt Damon cameos in that movie too.
Yeah.
And so it had its moments, and it was fun. And I was really tired of that kid too. I was really getting tired of the kid in that movie. So
sometimes there's just that actor, like, you suck at just being alive. I just
yeah,
can't watch past this movie if you're in it.
who decided you were going to be in this movie? Who decided you were
Who
the
let you out of
one?
the house, damn it?
Right? But yeah, no, I look forward to more original stuff coming out. So obviously nothing's coming out right now with everything going on, but I'm even trying to think of movies that were slated to come out this year, and I quite honestly am not excited for any of them.
I saw one good one. Me and my buddy were watching the trailers actually like 2 days ago. A new guy or guy. I think it's called Guy, and it's with Ryan Reynolds, and he's supposed to
Free
be like
Guy.
Free Guy. That looks
Hmm.
like a really good one. But there was
That does
another
look
one.
good.
There was another one just like that called Akimbo with
Mm.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Guns Akimbo.
That looked fucking god awful.
We have been seeing shots from Guns Akimbo for years now. It's been a meme long before anybody ever saw the trailer for this film. Do you remember seeing the Daniel Radcliffe memes where he's holding the guns and stuff like that? Everybody wondered what that was from. That's what that movie's from, and we're finally going to get to see it. I don't know. I'll sit down and watch it. I'm sure it's going to be dumb. I won't go to theaters and watch it, but I will. I'll sit down and watch it. Another movie that should have never been done is do you like Jay and Silent Bob?
Yeah, the remake.
The remake. What the hell was that?
Is that bad too?
I did not like it.
Damn it.
Don't ruin. I love Jay and Silent Bob, the original movie. I love Dogma. I love all those
I saw
movies.
Dogma when I
Clerks,
was
Clerks
like
2.
13 years old. And I was like, I watched a really good religious movie. My mom's like, what is it? I'm like, Dogma. She's like, that's not a religious movie.
I watched Dogma when I was in high school, and my mom's like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "I'm watching Dogma," and she's like, "Oh my God, you're going to hell."
God's a woman.
God's a woman. Alan Rickman doesn't have a penis. What the heck is going on here?
Life is
Uh,
confusing.
Very confused, but great movie. Um, but yeah, just watching that remake, and I didn't like it at all. Even if it had all the same people in it, I just didn't feel right to me.
Hmm.
Give me something original.
It's all we want. Just like your podcast, bring in a little bit of originality with yourself. Am I right?
I'm trying, trying.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming out and doing my podcast, man. I want you to plug your show, plug anything you want to plug podcast wise, any social media where people can find you at, man. Let's get the word out there so people can go see Chuck. Is it Chuck Goes to the Movies?
That's the name of the show. Chuck Goes to the Movies.
Chuck Norris Goes to the Movies.
Chuck Norris. Yeah, it's called Chuck Goes to the Movies. I have 8 episodes out right now, and yeah, I can be found on Apple, Spotify, all those major directories. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Again, Chuck Goes to the Movies, or chuck.2.movies, if that's easier way to find me. Real quick before we end this, do you want to know why I go by Chuck? Besides the fact that my name is Charles.
Because I would go by Chuck as well if my name was Chuck, or if there was a nickname I could have besides Robbie, but it's kind of stuck. Trying to get it to make it Rob, so with Rob with 2 B's.
Rob with 2 B's. Rob. Um, I always hated my name growing up. Jeffrey, Charles, Norris. I sounded so prim and proper.
Pick a name, damn it.
Exactly, and I know I'm Charles comes from my grandfather, so my family didn't want to feel like they were letting family down by not naming me after somebody, and I went the exact opposite with my kids. There are no family names in my kids' names, but I hated it. I hated Jeffrey. It reminded me of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the butler Jeffrey. So I forced everybody to call me Jeff all growing up. I hated people knowing my middle name, so I never talked about it because all I would hear are Chuck Norris jokes growing up. And I think I've heard every Chuck Norris joke under the sun. If you have a Chuck Norris joke that you think I haven't heard, let me know, guys. I guarantee you I've probably heard it. It wasn't until I got into the Navy that I started embracing the Chuck. So I've always been this loud, outspoken guy and kind of like the center of attention kind of person. When I went into the Navy, I decided I was going to reinvent myself. I was going to be the quiet guy. I was just going to kind of skate under the radar, do my thing, get out. So in boot camp, I'm sitting there. It's a Sunday afternoon. I'm trying to polish my boots. I was never good at polishing boots. I usually paid somebody to do it for me. And this my recruit division commander comes out and he's like, Norris. I didn't even think anybody knew who I was. So I'm stood up and I'm just like, yes, petty officer. When the fuck were you going to tell us your middle name was Chuck? I was like, I never planned on telling anybody, petty officer. And he's like, too late. And from that moment on, everyone called me Chuck. It followed me everywhere I went. I checked into my first command, USS Carl Vinson. As soon as I checked on board, they're just like, oh, you're Chuck Norris.
So if this ship goes down, you're carrying everybody to safety.
Yes. So that's when I finally started embracing it. I'm just like, you know what? I'm never going to escape this. So I will. And everybody, like my best friend, Justin, I think he knows what my first name is, but he always calls me Chuck. My wife refuses to call me Chuck, so she'll call me Jeff. So that's why I have to go by both. That's why I use both names in my persona, Jeffrey Chuck Norris. So everybody who knows me really knows it's actually me. So I do like it now that I'm 30 something years old and I've officially embraced it. I actually prefer Chuck versus Jeffrey, but it's again what everybody wants to call me. So that is why it's called Chuck Goes to the Movies, because I love that name now and I love to talk about movies.
The man, the myth, and the movie podcaster.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.